Streaming live from the Paul and Catherine Ranke Memorial Studio. This is TV Free Baltimore. Support for TV Free Baltimore comes from viewers like you. Become a TV Free Baltimore member by visiting patreon.com/TV Free Baltimore.
Hello, everybody. This is Strider from the Guardian Angels, and welcome to Beyond the Streets. I am excited about this episode, and I say that mostly for all the episodes, but I'm really excited about this one because I have a Baltimore guy here who is, he has too many titles for me to name, but Jovani Patterson is one of the guys that I have been following recently here in Baltimore because, as you know, Baltimore is changing. Baltimore has become a thing. And with Beyond the Streets, I want to get the people on this show that are the mover and shakers in Baltimore, and I want to recognize the work that they are doing. So join me in welcoming Mr. Patterson. And I can't tell you how glad I am to finally meet you. We've been kind of working in a lot of the same circles, but we never actually ran into each other.
Man, it's an honor, man. We had you on our show last year with the that was the episode we had the spider on too.
Yes. You know what? I show people that and I say, you gotta check this out.
Twin brother and I joined in Baltimore. We were 17 years old, and since 2006, we actually run the Baltimore region of our Guardian Angels. So we've been up and running for probably about 16 years now.
All right, excellent. And you guys have been I'm sorry. I gotta get up. I gotta get up. I'm sorry. Oh, there's a spider here. Oh my goodness.
No,
I'm sorry. Oh my.
Sorry. All right, hold on.
It was a good time.
But thank you for having me, man. It's really an honor, to meet you finally. And I've been aware of things that you've done in the community and what you have going on. So it's a pleasure of mine to actually meet you.
So since this is Clash of the Titans, people, we got this, okay? But I wanted one specific thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is extremely important and it's on everybody's radar, is the Baltimore City school system. You have taken this fight to the street. Yeah. Not only to the street, but the street right outside of City Hall and the school board. So that is a tremendous undertaking. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so we do have the lawsuit that's been filed against Baltimore City Public Schools. They filed a motion to dismiss back it was over the summer, and I think it was October, where the judge denied their motion to dismiss. And so what that means is that the case is going to move forward, and we're going to get some insider details on what's going on in the Baltimore City Public Schools, here coming in the coming months and years and stuff like that. So these things do take time, but the thing is, the cover up is going to be ending. Where the money's going, what's happening, behind closed doors, it's going to be a revelation for the people of Baltimore.
Now, for those who don't know, what made you file this lawsuit? I mean, what was the point where you said, okay, enough's enough?
So this is where I get a lot of, criticism, because people saying I'm just doing things because I lost an election, right? So I ran for office back in 2020 for city council president of Baltimore City. And, of course, I lost the election, but my thing was I couldn't just go away, right? I wasn't just one of those guys that say, hey, I lost an election and I'm going away. And plus, I'd never gotten into politics just to be in politics because I really don't like politics, right? I'm not a political guy per se. But a lot of my principles and what I stood for when I was running for office was fixing our school system, accountability in government, addressing the city's economics, those type of things. So the things that I, continued to do after campaigning was still advocating for the same things. And what it was is, hey, I lost the particular election, but the work didn't stop. But the work didn't stop. And I'm going to say, hey, we can still do this work without the title, without the position, because really it's up to the people to get it done and not necessarily a savior in government, right? So the lawsuit came about. My wife was a former, school teacher. We knew the things that were going on in public schools. And at some point you just say, hey, enough is enough. We have to find out what's going on. And there's a right that people have, right? As a taxpayer, you put into the system the money that you earn when you work your job, you pay your taxes as a homeowner on, your McDonald's, federal, state, local level, all these levels you pay taxes, and all that money is then come back, a lot of that money comes back to the school system. So there's some level of accountability that the school should have to the people. And what we've seen is that hasn't happened at all. So we want to know, why are our schools failing, and the administration, is constantly getting raises, promotions, complaining about funding? Why is our school, fifth highest funded, third highest funded in the nation, yet our test scores, according to the nation's report card, are second lowest? Why is that? Are our kids not worth a quality education? And Baltimore is a majority black city. Mm-hmm. Are we saying that all these kids in this city, that if you look at the bus stop benches, it says the greatest city in America, are we saying all these kids in this city aren't worth the greatest?
Is this the best we can give them? But and also when it comes to the school system, and like you said, where's the money going? Where's the accountability? It's been shown that a lot of these kids haven't been in school for years, and some of them have been deceased.
Yes.
And nobody knows about this. And
So look, man, I don't know. I grew up. I was scared to tell a lie growing up with my parents.
Different time.
So the audacity that people have now to say, hey, I'm going to count that dead kid as here. To me, that's mind blowing. To me, how am I going to steal from the people I'm so claiming to help, and claiming that a person that's no longer with us is enrolled in my school and getting grades every quarter?
Good grades. Don't get it wrong. Good grades. Good grades. I find it, but like I said, you can't really make this up. And a little while after this came out, the superintendent of schools basically was recognized for what a great job that she was doing.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, a lot of the problems that we have in Baltimore City can basically stem from the school system. I'm not saying the teachers. Look at the teachers. They're overworked. They're underpaid. They do what they can. But at the same time, you talk about the pathway between schools and prisons. And when you go to school for 12 years and you still can't read, okay, that's not a pathway from school to prison. That's an express to school to prison. And it's one of the saddest things that I've seen. But what got my attention with you is how hard this must have been for you to, one, get somebody to say, okay, we have a reason for this lawsuit, and to build up a backing that even the courts are going to say, hey, no, we're not going to dismiss this because something is going on. Now, despite the evidence that is sitting out there like a beam of light.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm a Christian guy, right? And I have faith in spirituality and whatever people call it nowadays. But it's almost like Jonah. And there was this thing like just calling and chasing you, but if you run from it, you're going to get eaten by something else. Mm-hmm. And at some point you have to answer the call. But then another thing that I believe is being a child of God is that God loves his kids, right? So whatever provisions are needed, he'll make a way, even though you don't know where they'll come from. So when I say that to say because I have no clue how I got here.
But you know what? It's my belief, and it's funny, but if you look at people who are all really passionate and good at some of the things that they do, you think about it. You find your gift and you find your talents. It's like they just come to you, whether you're a great singer or a great drummer or a great fighter or something. You find your gift and it comes to you. But those people who go out without the fancy awards and flash and all this kind of stuff, and even thank yous, the community guys that go out and women, make that right, the community people that go out and do what it is they do and are really good at it, that's more than a gift. That's a passion. And it is a calling, because a lot of times it's a thankless job. Absolutely. It's a hard-working job, and you come up with all of these things that keep you up at night only because you want to make that much of a difference. But you're right. It's a calling.
I'm gonna share with you my selfish reason for doing all this. Right? It's not money. It's simply the fact that I think Baltimore is just simply an amazing city, and I don't want to move. I don't want to move. That's my simple reason for doing the things that we're doing, is because I see the greatness in Baltimore. I know, because I'm a musician myself, I know the musicians that come out of here, the artists. We have some incredible, chefs and food stuff that comes out of here, culinary.
The successes alone out of Baltimore.
I just know.
My mother used to tell me all the time, if you do something good, if you can make it in Baltimore, you can make it anywhere. Mm-hmm. But then Baltimore is a beautiful city, and I think that somehow along the line, we kind of slipped some of that, the moral cues and keys and doing the right thing that kept this city as good as it was, or keeps it from being as good as it can be. Yeah. So let's talk about politics.
My favorite subject now.
Your favorite subject. I am not into the whole political thing. I try, I vote, I follow up, I pay attention, and it's like I just keep getting my heart broken by the things that happen, and not just here, but everywhere, because I remember the days where we voted for people based on their character and their strength and what they were doing for their country and their residents. Yeah. Okay? And now, to me, a lot of these politicians think about it, they go in as community servants, they come out millionaires, and the people that they're supposed to be looking out for and protecting, they're all suffering. Yeah. And this is not just in Baltimore. This is basically across the board. Now I know you did run for office, and I remember I was following you on that, and I was like, wow, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So you did get a pretty good amount of votes, and not only that, you got in the running, especially as Republican. Yeah. So that's a big deal. So yes. And I like the fact that you said that after the race was over, you kept doing the work. Yeah. So, any interest of running again in the future?
I have no interest of running right now. We have our grassroots organization, People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement, piece that's now beginning to come into fruition and starting to get its stride. But I think that's the extent of my political, I believe, at least from what I can see right now, that will be the extent of my political work. And that will be to more or less get people back involved in the civic process. I think, to your point, there was that time where we elected people based on their character, values, and those type of things, what they could do for the community. And my effort is to try to bring some of that back and remember that politics is not a set it and forget it thing. It's a let's set it and follow up, like set it and follow up. And I think we've gotten to a way, a point in our culture where we just set it and it doesn't matter. I don't care. We forget about it. And the only thing you have to do now is just mention how much money you brought into the city, or pertaining to Baltimore City, how much fundraising that you were able to do a particular election cycle or whatever. And so the effects of politics have been lost.
Well, you do know we have politicians in City Hall that never brought in any money, that haven't really done any changes. They go to community meetings, they say hello to babies and all that kind of stuff, and they've really done nothing, but they've been there for years. They're nice people. Well, I'm not even going to say they're nice people, because, nice people do their jobs. But at the same, and
you
granted,
can be nice and terrible at your job. Man.
Well, maybe, but man, my whole, okay, I'm going to give you that one because, but my thing is that there really are politicians in Baltimore that are just riding the wave. Yeah. And, there are some good ones in there that fight the good fight, and those are the ones I appreciate. We all know who the ones are that aren't doing anything, but we do have them.
Yeah.
So I think it would be kind of wrong for me to ask you what you think about the political base in Baltimore City. What do you think about the political base in Baltimore City?
Well, like this.
And you don't mention names. Just talk about the structure in itself.
There's two things, right? You have the voter, and then you have once you're in office and how things work. I think Baltimore politics corrupts, and a lot of these people can come in with the best of intentions. I think some of them come in and are misguided, but a lot of them come in with the best of intentions, and then the systems of Baltimore literally corrupt. I was actually sitting with a council member the other day, and he was saying, "Hey, my council people call me, my constituents call me, and they say, hey, I got an issue with this. It could be something stupid like a trash can, right? Just we need a trash can. But then he's like, well, I call this department, and then I call this department over here, but they have to call this department over there, and then they call this department over here, and then to find out it was for Parks and Rec versus DPW, and then they have to call 3 different agencies once they get involved. Well, why don't you see that as a problem? Right? So there's a lot of cover-up that is allowed to happen, and when people talk about, well, we don't know how government works. Well, it's because it's become this, gigantic
shit show.
Exactly. And nobody knows how it works.
And there was a politician who called in one of the radio shows and said that exactly the same thing, a former politician, and said the same thing. Nobody there knows how the system works.
And that's a problem.
And they don't. That is a problem. But now it makes you wonder: is there a system anymore?
Yes. And sorry, being so.
It
is a system, but the system is to corrupt the politician, right? It's to benefit the politician and not the constituent, because any council person or any member of government says, "Hey, this is ineffective for the voters." There's not one that has said, we need to clean this up.
Now, that brings in mind that the constituents voted in the last election to implement term limits. Mm-hmm. Okay? And would that get over 70%, right?
Yes.
It was overwhelming.
Yep.
Okay? Now we have council people who are going to try to overturn this. Okay? And we had another one say that they're going to talk to their constituents because they didn't understand what they were voting for. And
what perception does that give?
You sit there, you're like, because you think about this, okay? Yeah. It overwhelmingly passed. Okay? And they're like, nah, we're gonna bring a bill in, we're gonna revote this, and we're gonna do it all over again because they didn't understand what they were doing. I think they knew quite well what they were doing.
So what's amazing about that argument is, and I had appreciated this during the campaigning of term limits, it was that it was the only charter amendment, one that was sponsored by the people, right? So we got over 20,000 signatures to get on the ballot.
That was amazing.
Right? So we got over 20,000 signatures to get on the ballot. And then it was the only charter amendment that sparked public debate.
Say that again.
The only charter amendment that sparked public debate. Now, everybody covered this. I mean,
yeah,
you didn't like the coverage from Fox 45 because they did lean one side. But then, Channel 2, 11, 13 covered it. WYPR. That was the first time I had ever debated a professor. Like, I didn't graduate college, right? And I'm debating a longtime professor, law degree dude.
Like somebody who they say is smarter than we are, because I didn't go to college either.
Right. So, but I'm on debates with him. So this sparked public debate, and one of the debates from Mr. Larry Gibson, he's the one I was really going after about this, and he was going after me, was the voters of Baltimore are sophisticated. That's one of the lines he kept saying. The voters of Baltimore are sophisticated. They know what they want. So if this council member is saying the voters of Baltimore didn't know, the voters of Baltimore are stupid, how do you think the city government, those elected officials, oftentimes feel about the people?
You can't. I don't mean to laugh. You know what I mean? Because it's really not funny. But you can't make it up. This is like something you see on a sitcom, honestly. And
the ink didn't even dry yet on the election.
But but at the same time, okay, so we're going to overturn it. But if we can't, okay, let's try to make it so that we can get our pensions in 8 years. So that's like, I mean, anybody can see through this. You know what I mean? Is this about me or what? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the funny thing about this. And I was kind of, I'm kind of hoping for the next election because I want to see the people say, okay, we're going to show you, we know exactly what the hell we're talking about because you guys are getting out of here. I mean, don't you think that at some point, the same people that want to overturn, I mean, are they listening to the news? Are they listening to the people at all where maybe somebody sat back and said, you know what? Maybe this is a bad idea because I think they're going to end up voting me out next time. Maybe I should rethink this. But they're staying strong on this.
Well, this is the dangers of social media and that kind of culture, right? Because if you go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, you're only going to see things that you like to see.
That's true,
right? So what certain people are hearing are only things that they like to hear. So when he's saying, well, a lot of people didn't understand this, or nobody knows.
Big Brother sending you something that says we didn't understand.
He's only hearing that from people that he likes to hear it from. Well, imagine going,
But there's also a reality. Okay, yeah. I mean, I get it. Your social. I mean, we could sit right here and talk about white mice. And then our phones are going to be full of white mice ads. I get it. Yeah. But sooner or later, you're going to realize, well, forget the advertisement. Here's the reality. And I don't think a lot of the people at City Hall get this. And if they do get it, there's very few of them that are actually standing up to do what is right.
Again, this is creating this us versus them, which has long existed, but the us has felt powerless in a lot of these situations. And this is a prime example of why. It's because, hey, the us's did something. We said we want term limits. But as soon as we do something, the them says, let's undo it. Let's undo it. And you know how much work it takes to get on the ballot? 22,000 signatures, validated. This isn't some easy thing to make. 22,000 pieces of paper Like, you have to have wet signatures. You can't go online and get
22,000 individuals.
Individuals that sign their name. And he can just say, I'd like to introduce this bill to overturn term limits. No thought into it. All he has to do is put brackets around what was just recently added, which is redacting.
I don't think it's going to happen because you look at the message that sends. I mean, granted, this was totally in your face. I can't wait to see what happens to this because the right mindset would be, okay, he can put together this thing and try to overturn it. But reality, we know the people have spoken. Mm-hmm. This is what they want.
Yep.
How the hell how do you overturn it? You know what I mean?
What the people should do now is find someone else to vote for.
I am and you guys know I am all about the voting thing. I tell everybody, I don't care if you even dislike politics or, there's a lot of people, I don't vote because I don't want, no. Your voice makes a difference. And if as many people voted as we hoped voted, I don't think we'd be in this situation.
No. I mean, people have to remember, like, your voice means something. And I understand how, we get to this point where it does seem insignificant. I mean, 300 murders every year, property taxes through the roof, jobs are leaving Baltimore City. And I understand how people feel powerless in these situations. But the objective is now to reclaim that power, right? If I say this all the time, is if you ever look at Baltimore City's budget, in the first few pages of that, there's a hierarchy. There's an organization chart. In the very top box, it says the people. It is time for the people of Baltimore to remember where they are in this structure. We are the people that pay taxes. They are the people that get paid by taxes.
And they work for us, just so you know.
Yeah, they're an employee.
So what are you working on? And what's next for you? And what's next for your group?
So Peace is the organization that we're building. The next activity really is starting to hear more from the community, because what we want to do is essentially create a contract. It's called the People's Contract, where we have the top 10 issues, and anybody that we put in office must agree to these top 10. And if you stray from these things, we want to put in recalls. So if you're veering away from what we requested and asked you to do as our public servant, then we're going to take you out of that office. And that, it's all about just giving power back to the people. So Peace is really what's next. As far as the political side, as far as the education, we just have to, kind of wait and follow the court process.
And that's a big deal right there. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be the one that's worrying you the most, isn't it?
Yeah. So, so we won't have any, kind of set dates or anything just yet, and that's the kind of challenging part about it. But as soon as we have something, I'll definitely be sharing and letting everybody know what's going on. But the good thing is that it's moving forward. I mean, even, Ben Crump, who's, joined on our lawsuit, if you notice, even nationally, he's talking about education and kids in the future, because that's really what it is, right? Regardless of gender, sex, relation, social, economic status, education has always been that ticket. Mm-hmm. Right. And
agreed.
It's always been that ticket out. And if the only thing we're concerned about is social media status, or just saying, these kids can't learn because they're poor, like we're not going to get there. Mm-hmm. Right. So our lawsuit is aimed to, one, get the school system to do their job, but two, again, just letting people know what's really going on.
That's a big deal. So I want to thank you for being here, and if it's okay, I want to invite you back because I want to get updates. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what we can do as Guardian Angels on how to get people to help you with what it is you're doing, because I think that you know, honestly, it's been a long time since anybody has kind of built an army for accountability.
Yeah.
And I think it's been too long. And now it's time, you know.
Anybody that's willing to work for what's right, I'm willing to work for them. So let's work. Let's get it done.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
Yes, sir.
So for all you guys out here, you know, real quick, how can people reach you?
So right now, Facebook is the best way to reach me personally. Jovani Patterson, Jovani Patterson. Facebook. You can go to bemoreaccountable.org as far as, you know, peace. So bemoreaccountable.org. Hit contact us. You know, we want to again start organizing around each community and each council district. We want to get people that might want to run for office as well. So, you know, we're going to be able to support you and build that people's contract. So bemoreaccountable.org is the best place to go contact us, you know, for that endeavor. But if you just want to say hi, reach out, Jovani Patterson is the best way.
All right, you heard it here. And I got to say that I really love this segment because as a volunteer in the Guardian Angels, we are a community organization, and we believe that the community is the one that drives whatever happens in your neighborhoods, in your cities, in your streets, and in your city hall. So I beg everybody to get involved with what's going on here, and it's time. It's time. You know, make a change in Baltimore. Do what you can. This is Strider from Beyond the Streets on TV Free Baltimore. Thank you so much.